All right. What is up, everybody? Got a lot of whiskey on the table this week. I'm not going to be drinking all this whiskey. I promise. A lot of this is stuff for me to show you what's going to be in tonight's giveaway in the sample packs that we do the giveaway for. But yeah, a lot of whiskey on the table, a lot of rye whiskey. All right, so if you saw the thumbnail on the way in, I've only had the thumbnail up for about the last hour. We're going to be focusing on some new rye whiskeys tonight. I know a lot of people out there, probably not whiskey tubers. I think a lot of, whiskey tube community members, I should say. I think a lot of you folks like rye. I think you're pretty open-minded to bourbon rye, even American single malt. I know a lot of people start getting weird when you look at Scotch and you go down that rabbit hole. But a lot of regular folks who are not like in the whiskey tube thing, they're not watching videos, people shudder when they hear rye. And I hope if you're watching this video, whether you're a whiskey tube community member, which is like definitely an informal title, that sounds like it sounds like a title I'm giving you. But if you're part of the community, or not, or you stumble upon this video, I hope you don't immediately think rye and run away. I hope you will give it a chance, because tonight we have some very special whiskeys to taste. So spoiler alert, very, very cool stuff that I'm going to be tasting this evening, not the least of which is the new Jack Daniel's single barrel proof rye that's going to be what seems to be a permanent line extension at a really reasonable price point. So that's kind of the intro, I guess. Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here another Thursday night. I'm going to say cheers. Let me know what's in your glass right now, if it is a rye whiskey especially. If it's not, that's cool too. I know we're getting into summertime. A lot of people don't feel like rye and summer go together very well. Maybe a lower proof rye in the summer. I think, it makes more sense in the winter, but I think every month is rye month. I think rye whiskey nowadays is disproportionately good, disproportionate value, all that kind of stuff. I think rye whiskey is really a great contender. And who knows? I think this year is especially well suited to possibly being like a rye whiskey taking the whiskey of the year, kind of distinction or award from a lot of different people, just because I think there are some great ryes coming out. So anyways, let me know what you're sipping on. Cheers. My first sip of the night, as usual, Eagleware store pick. Getting to the end of this one, I have one backup of this pick. It's a great pick from A&L Wine Castle in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So cheers, guys. All right. Before I say hello to some people in the chat, let's get the giveaway stuff going here. So let me go over this very quickly. As you saw in the thumbnail, we are going to talk about the Bardstown Origin Rye, and we're going to talk about Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Proof Rye. Shout out to my friend Nick, who I got these two from today. Thank you, Nick. The whole stream is thanks to him, which is awesome. Going to be tasting those, going to be doing some comparisons to products that I think people are interested in, seeing it next to the Jack Daniel's 2020 Rye. Obviously, that's a great comparison to the new single barrel. For the Bardstown, I've got Matt Porter's Rare Character pick. Pretty much assumed that's coming from the same place. Pretty much confirmed there. So that's the plan. And then in terms of giveaway stuff, we're going to have 2 sample pack winners. Doing another sample pack giveaway because I don't really have a bottle right now that would suit this stream. If I had an extra Jack Daniel's, I would be giving this away, but I don't have an extra. So hopefully these are going to show up in your area soon anyways, and you'll be able to find it at SRP. But tonight's giveaway is going to be a really cool sample pack of ryes. 2 winners, of course. The Bardstown Origin, the Jack Daniel's. Going to throw in the Old Forester Barrel Proof Rye, which is a really great pour. And then some other off-the-wall ryes. Hard Truth Sweet Mash Batch 1, E.H. Taylor Rye, Matt Porter's Rare Character pick, another Matt Porter pick, ADHD Whiskey Nulu Rye from last year, amazing rye, MGP. We've got a Starlight Double Oaked Rye, which is one of my favorite ryes that I own. I nurse this bottle because it's the only one that I have. And then 2 different Middle West rye picks, one in a 30-gallon and one in a 53-gallon barrel. Both amazing picks. So it's going to be a really kind of different giveaway. There's not a bottle of Elmer T. Lee, I know, but it's not a bottle of Michter's 10 rye. But at the end of the day, it's a really, really cool spread of ryes for you to try, especially for a bourbon lover. I think some of these are going to be good rye whiskeys for you. So that's what we've got. Every $5 gets you into the giveaway, and I'll track those super chats tonight. So hit that like button on your way in, and we're going to get started here in just a second. I'm going to go through the chat, check in with some folks, and then we're off to the races. Yeah, and this is probably the only bourbon that I'm going to be sipping on all night is this little introductory pour of Eagle Rare. Okay. Lots of whiskey on the table. Harrison Giuliano says, rye in the summer, count me in. Sadly, I'll have to listen while getting my lawn in shape. I did that the other day. Yeah, I know. No fun. Okay, Jay, we'll talk about this in a second, talking about this contract. I'll get there. What's up, Travis? Travis, Jeff. Good to see you guys. Roy R. is here. John. Dustin Pullman with a question. And guys, let me know on this because I'm not sure. He says, I know it's not a rye question, but wondering your opinion on Kentucky Owl Batch 8. Never had it. I've only had Batch 9 and American Batch 1. Those are the only Kentucky Owls. No. Sorry. Old Carter American Batch 1. Not Kentucky Owl. But Kentucky Owl, I have had Batch 9. I thought it was amazing, but I haven't had Batch 8. So can't speak on that one. The ryes are great. The couple of the ryes that I've tried, fantastic. Roy is sipping on a Starlight Pick. What is up, Shauna? John is eating lasagna, drinking barrel-proof whiskey in the morning during the summer. That just sounds like heartburn all day. I would be, well, right before the stream, I just popped my my heartburn meds. Sugar Kitty, drinking Berry and Rudd bottled Linkwood 12 here. Nice. That sounds very approachable, very summery. All right, Hank Williams Jr. found E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof 2022 15. That's a great price on that. I would have several pours of that. Looks like my brightness keeps fluctuating. I don't know if that's just on my screen or if... Guys, if you see that, let me know. If my brightness looks like it's fluctuating to you, then that would be a camera issue or a cable issue that I need to get figured out. It looks like it just keeps popping in dark to light, dark to light. It's subtle, but yeah, it just happened again. David Smith, cheers, Cam, and everyone sipping on a new Maker's Private Select. I hope you enjoy it. I'm not a big Maker's Private Select person, but I'm glad that you enjoy it. You got Jason in here. Jeb sipping on a 2005 Bordeaux. Good Lord. Very cool, man. Jeb, I got your... Sorry, that night that we were texting, I fell asleep. I looked at those emails you sent me. That's some high-class stuff that you were sending me. And Clay, what's up, ma'am? Clay says, I think rye is a distinctly summertime. I think some of them are. Yeah, I think some of them are. All right. Scott is in with a super chat here. Let me get you in here, Scott. Like I said, tonight I'm tracking myself. In for one. Cheers, cutting the grass. And listen, it sounds like a lot of people are cutting the grass. Can't wait to be done to open the Russell's 13. Very cool, man. If you do open it while you're still in here hanging out in tonight's stream, let me know how it is. Let me know what the laser code is. The first 4 letters of the laser code. Whether it's... Sounds like it would be batch 4 or batch 5, which have just been dropping. Jay, so what is my brightness flickering? Are you seeing that, Jay? All right, Jeb threw in some Venmo. It looks like someone else did too. So you guys can always directly super chat me through PayPal or Venmo. The stuff's in the description of the video. If you want to help me out and not give YouTube their 30% cut. James Lay says, rye till the cows come home. Yeah. I agree, James. Every year I like... Oh, shoot. Sorry, my computer just completely froze. Every year I like rye more and more, you know. So thank you, James. In for 4, I gotcha. And then Jeb giving me something about a triangle. Something about a triangle in my Venmo. All right. The first thing that I'm going to taste tonight, the very first thing we're going to get into is the Bardstown Origin Rye. Okay? No, I'm about to pour it out. I actually have one already poured. So here we go. This was poured out about 30 minutes ago. This is a bottle that I picked up today, fresh crack. I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, you got to give it more air. It's gotten 30 minutes of air in this glass. What we have here from Bardstown Bourbon Company, let me clear this out just a little bit. Make a little space in front of me. Here we go. Hit that like button on your way in, guys, if you don't mind. So here you go. Bardstown Origin Rye. I know I'm a little late to the game on this one, although I think a lot of markets still don't have this. So you can see on the front label, 96 proof or 48% ABV. And I think most importantly, though, it is a Kentucky rye finished in toasted cherry wood and oak barrels, it says. All right, so this is a 95.5 rye. You can see that distinction here on the side label. 95.5 distilled spring of 2017. Again, coming in at 96 proof. So, approachable proof. This is about a $60 bottle, I believe. And, I'm not the biggest fan of double oaked this and that, but toasted cherry wood has me interested. They did another rye, or maybe another blended whiskey that was in the collaborative series with some toasted infrared something or other cherry wood. I didn't taste it. It was too expensive for me to just pick that up on a whim. So here we go. Let's check this thing out. Scott would love to win that sample pack and taste the hard truth. 2 bottles I've been eyeing. Yeah. We got you in there, Scott. Fingers crossed. Will Barrett sipping on some Magnus Cigar Blend 86. That sounds like it would be in the range of what would be a good cigar blend. All right, so this Bardstown is very, what's the word? I mean, it's very outdoorsy, this rye, I think. I'm getting a ton of mintiness, a ton of dill, actually. So there are some notes in this Bardstown 95.5 that are reminding me of an MGP 95.5. That big dill punch for sure. But this also has a huge kind of ginger note to it. And that ginger note, I don't often find that on Kentucky Ryes. Usually you think Kentucky Rye, you think barely legal, you think very sweet. A lot of corn influence, even though it's 51+% rye. But I typically don't find that ginger note. When I get a ginger note in a rye, it's not only an Indiana rye, but it's an older Indiana rye, and it's usually on the finish. It's just something I've noticed. You can see over my shoulder here, back on this shelf. Let me scoot back. Right here, I have all of my Maryland Heritage Collection 14-year MGP ryes. All of those, to me, have a ginger note on the back end, but they're 14 years old. This is a 6-year rye. It's got ginger strong on the nose. The good thing about this rye, it is finished in some toasted oak, toasted cherry wood. I'm not getting that youthful oak note on it, and I appreciate that a lot because there are so many of these toasted ryes out there nowadays where you're just tasting like really spicy, breakfasty young oak. You get kind of this savory bacon note to it, or this maple syrup type thing that I always say it's a little bit breakfasty, like the Nulu toasted ryes, some of the Penelope toasted ryes, toasted bourbons even. So this is balanced. This is well balanced. A lot of dill, a lot of kind of this mintiness, big ginger note, kind of a sweeter lemon. But there is something fruity on this as well. White pepper, something fruity, I think, coming from maybe that cherry wood or that toasted oak. So, as far as ryes go, it's in your face. It's unapologetic. Big outdoorsy floral. Let's try it on the palate. I'm going to need a second sip of that. It feels like the spice on this rye dies off a little bit early. Like, what's kind of nice about it is that the flavors, yeah, some of the sweeter and also more savory flavors are hanging on a long time, but the spice actually felt like it faded away fairly quickly. And maybe that's a result of the proof being down at 96. Could also be a result of possibly the finishing barrels maybe mellowing this thing out a little bit. Sometimes when you throw things in a secondary barrel, it gets big, spicy, disproportionately spicy, too much. But sometimes that finishing barrel can kind of calm a whiskey down. Maybe that's what this is doing. Maybe I take a second sip and it's big and brash on the finish and I was just wrong. Who knows? I saw Toshi come in here. Toshi, what's up, man? Long effing day at work. Quarterly business review today. And my my dumbass also sideswiped another car. Oh, man, parking at daycare. That's a way to... It's one thing if you, get in a car accident or a little fender bender. If anyone here has watched Mike Tyson Mysteries, I love that show, by the way. Rest in peace, Norm Macdonald. He voices the pigeon on the show. It's like an animated show with Mike Tyson. But there's an episode where Mike Tyson, they keep getting in fender benders. That's how Mike Tyson would say it. So Sarah and I always say fender bender. Oh no, not another fender bender. It's a good episode. But I think we had to buy all of the seasons. I don't know if it was on Amazon or Hulu or something. They were selling them by the season, and you couldn't find it for free on any streaming service. So we splurged. They're 11-minute episodes. They're these real short animated things with Mike Tyson, Norm Macdonald voicing it, and some other people. It's funny. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it. But anyways, point is, starting your day with a car accident or even something minor like that sucks. That's you want that to happen later in the day, Maybe not. What's up? This is Nick, guys. This is the reason we're doing this stream tonight. Nick got me these bottles. Wow. It's got to be the proof on this rye. Yeah, it falls away fairly quickly on the spice. That's so interesting. Front of the palate, a little into the mid palate, as it starts to develop with the spice. The spice does deliver more of the actual flavor profile of the whiskey. I'm telling you, the ginger note on this thing is so crazy. Ginger, a little bit of a sweeter lemon note, big dill, big floral, big mint. One thing I don't get a lot of is a pine kind of note, maybe. The more I'm smelling this now, the more I'm getting into just kind of a bourbon-ish caramel type note. So again, I'm thinking that's coming from the secondary barrel finishes that are going on here. So there is some sort of backbone to this whiskey that's not all rye spice, and I think that's going to bode well for a lot of bourbon drinkers. I also think the fact that the lower proof and possibly the barrel finishing has tamed this thing down on the finish. Rye lovers aren't going to like that, but bourbon drinkers, I think, will find this less offensively rye forward. That might make it more approachable for a bourbon drinker. Queen's accent. James, what did I say with the Queen's accent? I'm not very good at accents, to be honest with you. All right, so it looks like we got a couple more Venmos that have come in here. Let me check, guys. Oh, wow. Thank you all so much. I've got four different folks, or maybe 3 additional folks. Keith Thompson, I got you in for 2, man. Thank you so much, Keith. With a thumbs up. Toshi, I got you in for 5. And Harrison, I've got you in for 1. So thank you, guys. I appreciate that for going direct to Venmo and for supporting the channel and getting in on a pretty cool rye giveaway, which I will recap every 20 or 30 minutes or so. Okay. Yeah, I think I like this rye. I'm going to do one quick comparison. I think, like, at the price point, what this rye is going to do, the one disadvantage it has is the proof, I think, because a lot of MGP rye, 4 to 6 year stuff that people source, they bottle it single barrel proof. It's not cheap, but this is $60, which is also not cheap. I think this competes with MGP ryes, right? Like the flavor profile, the dill, the floral, all of that kind of stuff definitely competes with MGP. This, because of the proof, it's at a slight disadvantage, because you're not getting that barrel proof or maybe that single barrel designation that a lot of people sourcing MGP is going to have, again, around that price point. But I do think it's a good whiskey, and I think no matter how they did this, what percentage went to cherry wood, what percentage went to double oaking or toasted oak, whatever, the blending, the end result here is a good one. So I like that. I like the fact that the finishing on this complements the whiskey. It brings maybe an extra dimension, but it never overpowers. I like a lot of the things going on with this. Often I think with Bardstown, things can get over-finished when they start introducing these finishing barrels. I think they did a good job with this one. Christine Vasco, what's up? Hey, I'm going to taste, right now I'm on the Bardstown. I'm going to put it next to Matt's, the ADHD whiskey, Rare Character 6.5 year rye, which is, I think we all know it. This is from Bardstown Bourbon Company. I wanted to taste a barrel-proof, unfinished version of this rye next to what they're putting out from the distillery to just see how they stack up against each other. Then I'm going to go on to the Jack Daniel's, the single barrel proof rye that's being released now. Where's mine at? Over here. So this guy, and I'm going to tell you right now, I'm so excited about this, and I have some comparisons to do for that, which are 2 different barrels of the 2020 release, as well as the Old Forester barrel strength rye. So between those 2 things, we'll probably veer off a little bit, but that's kind of the focus of tonight's stream. Jeb, better than sideswiping a kid? Yeah. I think anything's pretty much better than that. Clay, a little disappointed you didn't throw Russell's rye. Clay, the only one that I've got is the 6 year, the low proof one. Or is that age stated? I don't know. It's behind me somewhere, but the low proof Russell's rye. Yeah, Scott, easier sipper as the spice doesn't linger. Who else in here has tried this new Bardstown Origin rye? Let me know in the chat if you have, and what you think of it too. All right. So now let's check this out next to its barrel-proof single barrel counterpart, courtesy of Matt Porter and Rare Character. I just gotta have a sip of that. It's so much higher proof, about 30 proof points higher. Wow. Big cherry note on the barrel proof version. I did not expect that. Wow. Okay. Clay. Speaking of Clay is in for 6 entries, $30 super chat into the Venmo. Clay, thank you, man. That's awesome. Got you in for some rye whiskey possibilities, or some possible rye whiskeys, or some combination of those words. All right, so the I'm kind of convinced that the barrel proof version of Bardstown Bourbon Company's Ryes, which, seems like Rare Character got their hands on some of this stuff. It is going to be, it's going to be the rye to beat. I mean, already kind of this is competing with the big boys. But I think in like another 3 to 5 years, if you get like a 10-year version of this rye, it's going to be outstanding. I do like, again, I like this at $60. I think Matt Porter's pick here was $100, so you're paying $40 extra for barrel proof, 6 years, 6 months additional age. As I do the comparison side by side on the nose, the lower proof Bardstown release has more of a honey note to it, which is nice. Has a honey note to it, and there's actually a grape note that's starting to show through, kind of a watery, candied grape note. Both of those things I just said, honey and watery, candied grape, low proof, those are like Buffalo Tracy type notes. I would have never picked up on that by itself. By itself, it was ginger, dill, all the things I talked about earlier. But in the comparison, those things are coming through. Whereas more of a spicy oak, black pepper, big cherry, like more intense notes on the barrel proof rye. But this is going to be really, really interesting over the next couple years to see how Bardstown Bourbon Company as a whole develops, but in particular their ryes, because this is going to be the thing to compete with Indiana rye, without a doubt. Clay says, on the off chance I win, please donate to a first-time winner. Or thanks, man. That's awesome, Clay. Thank you. So Travis is seeing this in Louisville, the Bardstown Origin, 80. Yeah, this is a pass at 80. This is, frankly, I'd like to see this rye between 45 and 50. I understand the secondary barrel that's going into this, or secondary barrels. Yeah. Everything they're doing to put this together, rye typically a little more expensive anyways. I get it. But to see the other origins at about $45, this at 60, I understand, but I'd love to see this at 45 to 50, because then for me it's like it's a definite buy. Jeb says, I have a Bourbon Pursuit Rare Character 95.5, really crushable, even at a higher proof. What's interesting about that, Jeb, about these Rare Character ryes, well, let me rephrase that. What's interesting about this Rare Character rye, it's the only one that I have, is that when I've had this in a lineup of blind ryes, it sticks out like a sore thumb. And I mean, it'll run the gamut. I'll have high proof MGP, high proof Kentucky ryes, whatever. This thing always stands out, and it's never, I hate to say this, I love it. I like Matt, whatever. It doesn't stick out in a good way for me for some reason. Like it's always obvious that it's this bottle. I could probably pick this bottle out. If you give me a rye flight of any ryes in my house, I would pick this bottle out. I don't know what it is about it. Something a little bit funky. But if I do it by itself, or in this comparison to, basically the same thing, lower proof, it does really well. So I don't know why that is. Some things are like that, like Four Roses LE does not blind well with other things. But I like to drink the 2021. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is kind of one of those situations. All right. So, before we move on, would I recommend this Bardstown Origin? I would say I recommend it if you're into ryes. If $60 for a lower proof rye is not offensive to you, yes, but I'm not feeling like if you're going to buy one bottle a month that this is going to be the bottle for right now. I don't think that's the case. So it really depends on your situation. But at the end of the day, it's a solid sipping rye, very easy going. I'm going to leave this up here. So, quick recap on tonight's giveaway. Tonight, we're going to have 2 sample packs being given away at the end of the stream. Those sample packs are going to include the Bardstown Origin I just tasted, this rare character pick, which is cast strength 6.5-year Bardstown Rye, the star of the show, the Jack Daniel's barrel proof single barrel rye, will be in that as well. And then all the ryes you see on the table otherwise, besides the Woodford, that's not going to get thrown in there. That's pretty basic. Old Forester Ryes in the sample pack, Hard Truth, a small barrel and a big barrel pick of Middle West Spirits Rye. I helped out with one of those. E.H. Taylor Rye, 2 picks up here, a Nulu and a Starlight. So some really good stuff, some different stuff, and it's going to be for the rye lover in here or the person that wants to, try something a little different. Jay says, how about a rye fireball? Jay, how about a barrel-aged fireball? Whatever. I saw some press release. My friend Frank put it on my Facebook wall after the catastrophe of losing to everybody in the round that I was in. When David moved on in Matt Madness a few weeks ago, after that catastrophe, I guess Fireball's doing some extra barrel aged something. That's about as bad as like the 20 whatever year Crown Royal apple. They've taken like 20 plus year whiskey and flavored it with apple. And it's like $250. What are we doing? Nothing is sacred anymore. It's the devil at work. Nick is eating sushi with my favorite blind pour, soy sauce. He knows me too well. Amy, anytime I see the word paces, I just think of a duel. I immediately think of drawing a pistol and shooting. A rye by Makers, that would be funny. Although I can't wait to see. I can't wait to see what happens with this old Makers that they're going to release. The 11 to 12 year thing. Very curious if that's going to change my mind, Amy. Tim Tam Slam. Tim is in for 5. Thank you, Tim. I got you there, man. Okay. Crown Royal Rotten Apple. Clay, is this going to be another stream where you go off the rails? On that Patreon stream, dude, when you were just like, you were calling all the shots, I loved that so much. That was that was so fun. And I don't know if this is true. I was envisioning you having had probably a little too much to drink that night, although maybe not. Maybe you're just shooting from the hip and having fun. But I always like to envision some people on the other end of these streams because I'm only reading the comments, And I know sometimes when I'm on a stream typing, like if I'm on a Friday night with Matt and I'm like sitting on my couch and sometimes I'm like, obliterated. It's one of those nights where you just get oopsie drunk, You're like, uh-oh, I'm hammered. And then you just start typing in the chat. It's like if Matt could see me right now and I'm like shirtless on my couch, like, crumpled up into a little ball. Anyways. Yeah, please hit that like, guys. Sorry for going off on a tangent here. All right. What's next? Oh my God. The star of the show tonight is next. Here we go. Let's get the music. Let's pick the music up here. I have to bust this out because I think we might be doing a comparison. So here's what I've got. Here's what we're doing. First up, I'm going to taste this. I know people have been talking about this. People have been saying, oh, it's not as good as the 2020 special release. I have no thoughts going into this tonight, all right? I just got this bottle today. I smelled it earlier. I let a pour sit out for a few hours before the stream. I was smelling it throughout the day, trying to see if it was changing. I was practicing, come upstairs, smell it, go back downstairs, keep playing. Sounds like a little bit of an addict situation. I promise it's not. And then before the stream, I got a fresh pour about 30 minutes before we started. To compare that, I have a lot of things. we're going to do the Old Forester comparison, and we're going to do the 2020 limited comparison. But I also wanted to bust out a regular Jack Daniel's barrel proof pick. This is, you know, I have a bromance. I keep talking about Matt Porter ADHD whiskey, but this is his pick because it's the best Jack Daniel's single barrel that I have in the house. And I thought, let's see how the single barrel proof rye compares to the bourbon, the Tennessee whiskey version of this, whichever one floats your boat. And upon smelling the rye right now, the first thought that came into my head was Coy Hill. And that's a good first thought to pop into your brain when you smell a new Jack Daniel's product that's going to be like, I don't know, what is this, $60, $70? Can somebody in the chat find the MSRP, if you don't mind, of this new Jack Rye? No matter what, if this is between $60 to $100, to just smell it right off the rip and think Coy Hill, to me, that's insanely impressive. Oh my God, guys. Brandon in a hotel room in Minneapolis. What hotel you staying in, dude? I don't know Minneapolis, but I have, over the years, just so many funny hotel experiences, you know? My last trip to St. Louis a few weeks ago, I hate that place. My hotel sucked. All the restaurants were either closed or full, even in the hotel. So I ended up door dashing Papa John's, which is not the end of the world. But if you know me and like the things that I can and can't eat, that was the best thing that I could have eaten for my like jacked up GI system. And I was dying on the drive home. I hated St. Louis, and it was only because of the situation. I mean, the city wasn't great either, but I was walking around and it was like dark outside and I was a little spooked, to be honest with you. Jay, Cam's going to talk. Jay, if I had look, dude, I wouldn't be whiskey tubing if I was doing that, because that would be paying some good money. Just kidding, not for me. I'm like a 4 out of 10, maybe like a Columbus 5.5. You know. Oh, I'm not. Look, Brandon, I like door dashing. I'll door dash till the cows come home. I just mean Papa J's. I'm on a toilet for 2 days, you know, after eating that. Jeb, I can't put that on the screen. Okay, on to the Jack Daniel's Rye. If I missed any super chats, please let me know. Harrison, a Columbus 5.5, that got me. All right, on the nose, Jack Single Barrel Rye. First thought is like spicy fudge brownie. Yeah, so this is, I'm not going to quite call it coffee or espresso, but you're almost there with this in terms of like a really dark, bittersweet kind of thing. Yeah, it's almost like, what do I say? Spicy fudge brownie, and then some kind of almost tart, like reduction, like dark fruit reduction. You know, whatever that means to you, some sort of dark berry or plum, or you know, some kind of reduction that's a little bit tangy on a spicy fudge brownie. I mean, it's super dark. It smells so good. And the one thing I was afraid of is that this would just be a big banana fest, and it would be kind of like all the other Jack Daniel's products where it's really banana forward, kind of bright and a little candied. This is not that at all for me. I mean, there might be a little banana note in this. These are, of course, all single barrels. Mine is coming in at 135.7, so thank you, Nick, for this incredible proof. It smells incredible. Like, this smells maybe, I'm going to say, you know, last week I had the Rare Character Exceptional Cask 14.5-year malt, malt whiskey, which to me is possibly like my whiskey of the year so far. This is right there with it. It doesn't quite have the sweet vanilla Kentucky notes. 14 years old in the barrel. Like, it doesn't have that profile. This is a little bit more intense, youthful, brash, young, dark, but it's really, really good. So this is in contention for my whiskey of the year at this point in, you know, what is it? Mid-June. That's a showstopper. Tommy T. Cheers, Cam. Cheers. Tommy T, is that a new name? If it's not, I apologize. Thank you for the super chat. I got you in for one. There we go. And Jay is in for one as well. Whiskey cheers to you, Jay. Jay, have you tried this? Has this Jack hit your area? This Jack single barrel rye. This is incredible, man. Oh, my God. You know what else this smells like? The reason I thought Coy Hill when I first smelled it was because of that fudge brownie note. To me, Coy Hill is like if you just lit a fudge brownie on fire, because it's so high proof on those. But this also kind of smells like Coca-Cola. I'm not going to say cherry Coke. When you start saying cherry Coke, or you say Dr. Pepper or cherry Dr. Pepper, when I say those notes, usually I'm referring to like 13 plus year Barton at barrel proof. This is more just like straight up Coke. That kind of caramelized, like just syrupy brown smell and taste you get from Coke. Yeah, just smells like cola. You can tell, what I'm actually glad about this. You can tell this Jack Single Barrel is a rye. It doesn't taste like a barely legal rye where you could confuse it in a blind. This one to me does have enough of a rye profile, enough of a little bit of that greenness to it to understand that it is a rye. Oh my God. All right. We're going to do some comparisons to this thing. To me, if I had to grade this whiskey right now, this is like a 9. This is like a 9.2 type whiskey. I think this is a ridiculously good whiskey. Well, let me take that back. 8.9. I'd probably go 8.9 on this thing. You know, if I'm on a 10 scale, I think you get to 9 plus, you got to reserve that for really the top of the top, but amazing stuff. It's $60, Amy. God, that is crazy. That is crazy. All right, first comparison. Let's check it out next to... Yeah, Brandon, I'm going to get to that in just a second. The first comparison I'm going to do, though, is going to be to a barrel-proof bourbon. So I want to see how these things differ. This barrel-proof bourbon is Matt Porter's pick. It's about 6 proof points lower. So a little bit lower than this rye. I also love that the ryes are coming in 130 plus very commonly. Big proof points. I even think some of these are being bottled at Hazmat. So you love to see that. Let's check it out next to this bourbon pick. Tennessee whiskey, whatever you want to call it. Well, the rye just smells older. I know you can get away with a little bit younger rye. It ages faster, people say. But it just smells older. You get more vanilla off the bourbon, which makes sense. You got some more corn going on in there. And I think the Jack Daniel's rye is like 70 or 71% rye. There's a lot of rye in this mash bill, which is cool. The bourbon pick. Yeah, a little bit more grain actually coming through on this. I have never picked that up on this one before, but it's just a testament to how dark and how old, and rich the rye smells. You get a little more grain, a little more of that kind of vanilla, almost like maltiness as well. Oh, but the palate palate on this pick, incredible. Someone's texting me. Got to turn off my, got to turn on Do Not Disturb. Okay. Sorry about that. I like these both, but I've got to give the edge to the rye. Matt, this is the best Jack Daniel's pick that I own, and I'm still on this shelf for rye. It's just a testament to the barrels they're pulling on this. I mean, this is really, really good stuff. Scott has a Coy Hill at 143.9. Wow. So this Coy Hill that I've got, I'm going to pour it right now, is 140.6. So now let's go Coy Hill next to the special, this Coy Hill next to the single barrel proof rye. See what that's like. Jeffrey Wack is in here. What is up? Toshi, you're making me feel better about picking my 2023. So you picked the 2023 over the 2020. Hey, man, look, they're all single barrels, you know? I would be very interested to see what the difference is like from barrel to barrel, you know? What's the consistency level between these things? I don't know. Bubble Bath Bourbon, what's up, current reigning champion, all you whiskey people? Dude, what's up is this 2023 Jack Daniel's Rye. Jeb, this is like a New York 8.9. This Jack Rye. I say it's a Columbus 9.2. I think I'll stick with my original on that. You know, but this is what I was saying a second ago, is I actually think that this rye has a decent little bit of a rye punch to it. And I'll compare it next to the 2020 special release and see, which I remember not having too much rye. I remember that one being really kind of bourbon feeling. All right. Now let's do this next to the Coy Hill. God, the Coy Hill's hot. All right. Well, the Coy Hill just has so much ridiculously dark fruit and coffee going on with it, with that heat, that it's just a humongous whiskey, and it's only, 5 proof points higher than the rye. They're closer than some people would want to admit, just in terms of how big they are, being well integrated profiles, consistent front to back, long finish, very close. I mean, Coy Hill is going to get the edge on this, and it should, with the price point, with the rarity, with being a special release. But still, this rye is phenomenal. So, hey, Bubble Bath says the limited was barely legal. So was it actually, in terms of the rye content, was it actually a lower rye content than what's being released right now? Amy, did you mean JB or JD on this? Is it like a Jack Rye pick, the 90 whatever proof? Was it 97 on those? I haven't had... Well, I had it in a blind, I think, one of these Madness rounds over the last couple years. Yeah, Joe. I think Coy Hill sometimes is almost too much. It's a great pour, though. And it's about as close as you can get to drinking King of Kentucky without drinking King of Kentucky. I think maybe the next closest thing, if it's not Coy Hill, is going to be President's Choice, which is still ridiculously expensive on secondary, you know, probably, what is it, 800, 700 to 900 maybe for the President's Choice, the current bottlings, and, yeah. And then what else? They've got the 10-year coming out, the 1924. So that one is maybe the most interesting release of the year for me. Like, that I'm most looking forward to is tasting 10-year Old Forester. I can't remember the proof on it. I thought it was 100 or more, which would be nice. But to me, like, the ultimate experience, besides every once in a while a William LaRue or a George T. Stagg that comes off really well, the ultimate experience for me that's being regularly released consistently is King of Kentucky. So to get close to that with the Coy Hill, that's good with me. Yeah. That's the thing. On the 2020, which I'm going to pour here in a second, I would say the same thing. It felt more like a high rye bourbon. This one feels to me a little bit more like a rye, the 2023. All right, so let me move the bourbon out of here. I got to make some space. Okay. We got 70 people in here. That is awesome, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Okay. Let's get some 2020 Jack Daniel's Ryes poured out. I've got two different barrels, both from Young Pei Chang, a Whiskey Tube legend, YPC as he is known. So this one's 132.5 proof. Oh, I spilled a little. That's a shame. 132.5 from the flask, and then from the sample is 133.2, so a little higher out of the sample bottle. Okay. And the last thing I need to pour out, this table is getting a little bit ridiculous. Last thing to pour out is the Old Forester. And the Old Forester is coming in at 127.1. So this is the lowest proof of these ryes. The Coy Hill can also go bye-bye. Let's just put this back. All right. Paul P. Late arrival. There's a joke there somewhere. Cheers, man. 3030. Scott. 3030. Bubble Bath Bourbon. Gotta go play Dungeons and Dragons like a nerd. Nothing on that table is less than a B grade except maybe the Taylor. and I'm throwing that the Taylor in the giveaway because people really look for this bottle. And I think it's a good whiskey, but I want people who win the giveaway, if they haven't had a chance to taste it, to not have to spend an exceptional amount of money to get it, and hopefully have like a really honest reading of the whiskey. And if they really like it, I'm really happy for them. But I feel like it's an highly overrated whiskey. Whereas I think like regular E.H. Taylor small batch to me is a great whiskey. I love that stuff. The single barrels are really hit or miss. The older you go back in time, 2019, those barrels were great. The current stuff, not so great. But the small batch to me is like the standout of the line. And the rye is just weirdly overhyped now, price-wise on secondary, and I think it's just because of rarity. But I know a lot of people want to be able to taste this stuff, so that's why it's going in the giveaway tonight. And if you guys are wondering about the giveaway, lots of different ryes on the table. The new Jack Daniel's, Old Forester. It's a great giveaway. 10 different 1-ounce samples. So okay. Now is a good time to mention, as we're crossing over the 1 hour mark, that this is going to be my last live stream for, I think, 3 probably 4 weeks. You're not going to hear from me for a number of weeks. I actually think I missed a super chat earlier, now that I'm saying this. Keith Thompson said this, and I forgot to pull this up. Keith, apologies for that, man. He asked about this audition. Thank you, Keith. I got you in for the giveaway. So I have an audition on July 7, and I've been going back and forth in my head because I wanted to ramp back up into doing, some videos and stuff here on the channel, not just doing live streams. I've decided that the best way for me to get through this audition, which if I don't win it, I lose my job. It just is what it is. It's an interesting situation. For those of you who are not musicians, it's an interesting situation. So hopefully after July 7, which is a Friday, that next Thursday, I'll be jumping on and we'll be celebrating. But I have to stop drinking basically between now and then. I need to be completely fresh for the next couple weeks. I need to dial it in, practicing all day, every day at this point, and just getting ready for this audition because, my financial livelihood is on the line. Yeah. So anyways, that's the thing. July 7. You probably will not hear from me between now and then. Patrons, I'm going to make July free on Patreon so that anybody that jumps in, we're not going to do a June giveaway. I'll post some updates on the Patreon, but there's not going to be a June giveaway on Patreon. I'll just roll it over into July, and July is going to be free. So Joe, it'll be pretty immediate. It'll be that day that I'll know, because the next day I'm playing. It's with the orchestra I play with. The next day I play a gig with the orchestra. So, and I'm hired through the rest of the summer. My contract goes to the end of the summer. My 1-year contract. But if I lose the audition, then I have to play out the rest of the summer, knowing that that it's not going to keep going, which would not be fun. It would be mentally very weird for me. But I have to go to for auditions and competitions, I have to go to a kind of an unhealthy mental place, where I just get really competitive. So I'm not going to lose the audition. Like, that's the mindset, I can't lose. I have to be that person, and you know what I mean. So, all right, here we go. Let's get a little more Jack in the glass. And now let's move on to the lower of the two 2020 release Jack Ryes. This isn't close. It's not close. No. All right. So in the flask, 132.5, a little bit lower than the 135.7. It's not close. This smacks the crap out of this single barrel of the 2020 special release. I mean, it's like 33% better. It's like a third better of a whiskey. A very large margin between the two. The main difference, God, this seriously smells like Coy Hill. The main difference between the two is that the 2020 special release here, it does smell a little more bourbon-like, in the sense that it smells like I talked about Matt's barrel pick of the Jack Daniel's bourbon. More grain forward, a little more honey, like younger notes, younger bourbon notes. Yes, sweeter, but brighter. Fruit profile wise, it's more of like a strawberry, light cherry, brighter fruit. This rye is just extremely dark. So Toshi, you're not crazy if you're still here. Bill Scott, you can't compare a fresh crack to 2 years of airtime. I disagree, Bill. I know why you might say that, but respectfully, I disagree with that. I'm trying to think how long. I probably have had these samples. I got these relatively quickly after they were released when Young Pei Chang sent them my way. But I just think fundamentally, you can even tell in the color, it's significantly darker, this new stuff. So I don't know if it's just this particular single barrel rickhouse position, maybe the additional proof, which is not that much, 3.5 proof points, whatever. I think you can really tell the essence of the whiskey, even if the airtime has maybe pulled a little something away from it, or even added a little more balance over the years. I think you can still kind of tell the general essence. But again, happy to agree to disagree on that. And I also know between these two 2020 special releases that they are different, let alone to the current day bottling. So yeah, and this next 2020 release that I've got, which is a little bit higher proof, 133.2, this one smells more like the 2023. It's got that little bit of a darkerness. Jesus. It's a little darker. It's got this kind of pungent, just more intensity to the nose. Yeah. Much closer. That's a toss-up between those two. So it's very easy for me to eliminate this particular barrel, 132.5. But I think one thing about this 2023 release is that this could just be the fact that I know that this is likely young-ish whiskey. Young-ish. I mean, I don't know what that means for Jack Daniels. 4 to 6? I don't know. Could be 8. I mean, it smells a little bit like a young whiskey trying to be old in some ways, but I'm okay with that because the end result is that it's just a really intense, dark, great whiskey. And this better barrel of the 2020 special release, it has more refinement to it. It feels older. It feels like a honey barrel. There's actually some element of this barrel that reminds me of William LaRue Weller. So I don't know why I'm saying that. It's a weeder. They're all single barrels. I'm still going to give the edge to this 2023. I think it's amazing whiskey. So Nick, the one that you've got, if you're still here, Nick, you said was a higher proof. This barrel, whoever picked up the other one of this barrel, I can only speak for this particular one. They're going to be a very happy camper. Jeez. Keith, as a show of sportsmanship, you should send flights of Coy Hill to your competition a couple of nights before. Just melt some faces off. John says, I had a Midwinter Night's Dram Batch 6 after 3 years being open. Knocked my socks clean off, better than I ever remembered. Yeah, I think, well, and the other thing about that, John, is that typically finished whiskey, in my opinion, does really, really well with airtime. So that makes sense. But also, I think it's a combination of that and also of our palates changing. That sounds like a cop-out in a lot of cases, but I think it is true. That sometimes your palate just acclimates to things better over the years. SD3 Gunner says, "Is this going to be a regular release now?" It is. Yeah. I think it's just a permanent line extension from what I can tell. And if they stay at this quality, if they even stay at 85% of this quality, it's the best value whiskey on the market, bar none. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof used to take that for me. That has fallen off, sadly. I mean, A123 was good, C922 was good. Still not 2020 good. Definitely not 2017 good. But even those were good batches. This is crazy good whiskey. Andrew, how can you tell which year your... I think barcodes or laser codes on them, I mean. Let me see. I can't remember what the Buffalo Trace laser code thing is like. Yeah. This is a 2020. So it'll say L, and then it'll have 2 digits after that. Well, I don't know how Buffalo Trace does this. Regardless of how they do it, mine says L 2020. Sometimes it's just the first 2 digits after L that dictate the year. So L20 would mean 2020. If it said L19, it'd be 2019, etc. But this says L2020, so maybe they spell out all 4 digits of the year. Or maybe the next 20 belongs to the next digit, which is 5, so 205, which would mean it's bottled on the 205th day of the year. I can't remember how Buffalo Trace does it. But regardless, that's a 2020 rye. So it's just a laser code thing. I could go look at my other 2 bottles and give you a definitive answer because I know the single barrel. I know the year of that one. Jeb. All right, here we go. Let's get on to the Old Forester rye now. Okay, interesting. I might need to take like 30 more seconds and just go down the line and nose these one more time. Paul, what was the proof again on the Jack Daniel's rye you're liking there? 135.7. And this was picked up in Tennessee. Can't remember what part of Tennessee. Nick said that he got this one. But somewhere in Tennessee, he snagged this. Bill Scott. Yeah, Bill, I hope I didn't come off like a dick, dude. One thing, one broader point of you saying, you can't compare a fresh crack to 2 years of airtime. Just kind of like a broader point from me, just as a human, is like, I think nowadays a lot of people just can't disagree with each other. Like, I see this in my industry a lot, in the music industry, classical music, contemporary music, whatever, that if you disagree with somebody, that means you are diametrically opposed to them as a human. And it's like, no, we can just disagree on something, and that is a separate issue from anything else about us, So I hope I didn't come across as a dick or anything like that. I just disagree with what you said there, but yeah, I think they are very different whiskeys, and I think they would be if they were both fresh cracks. But I hope I didn't say anything to sound like any kind of negative way. Casey says, I prefer a fresh crack. Well, don't we all? Awesome. Thanks, Bill. Thanks for saying something, man. Jeb says, I've only been wrong like 15 times today. You get used to it. If I ask my girlfriend, that number might be low. I know, like, I promise I'll get back to whiskey, but, Sarah, since COVID, has been working from home, and she never used to work from home before this. And one one thing that has happened to me is like I'm used to working from home. I've always been home practicing during the day, play my shows on the weekends or go out on tour or whatever. And having Sarah home now, we interact so much more throughout the day, which is great on a lot of levels. And then also, like, you know, there are the arguments that pop up just during the day when I'm in the kitchen doing the dishes. She doesn't have a home office here because we never planned to need to have a home office for her. So when COVID hit, she literally, her office is in our kitchen, right? So like, if, you know, I'm in the kitchen, I'm doing dishes, I'm doing something, and we have a little like argument, and it's like innocuous. It's no big deal. But just the short-term memory that I've developed of like, we argued 5 minutes ago, and it's already completely out of my mind, and I don't even. It's like I'll walk back up to her in 5 minutes and be like, "Hey, love you," you know, and completely different kind of dynamic. Whereas like 5 minutes ago we were arguing about something. I know that might sound really like an uneventful thing to say, or like, you know, story basket type story, but it is funny how COVID to me, because she's in the house so much more now. It's like we'll just have these little moments throughout the day, but everything is a little less consequential because we're around each other so much more, if that makes sense. Jeb, I've said hi wrong before. Who knew? I know. I'm with you. Yeah, memory of a goldfish, says Andrew. All right. I got to get into this. Old Forester Rye versus the new Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Proof. I do recall before this liking the other 2020 Jack Ryes better than the Old Forester. So if that's not consistent right now, if I like the Old Forester more than the 2020s, then I'm going to be a little confused. And I'm going to wonder to myself if I have some bias to this. The Old Forester smells like young Old Forester cherry, that bright cherry note. Big banana, big cherry. But with a just crazy amount of spice. And something in the Old Forester Rye is a little bit, it reminds me of like Ardbeg. No, maybe Lagavulin. There's a little something phenolic in the Old Forester Rye. It's so slight. But very bright. Cherry cough syrup on the fruit side. Good whiskey, but you can tell it's young Old Forester. Yeah, and then you go to the nose of the 2020 releases. Especially the sample bottle, which I liked better than the flask. Incredible. Much better on the nose. And now let's go to the nose of the 2023. Yeah. All right, so I'm tasting the Old Forester. I'm going to taste the good 2020 one more time. Yeah, that's definitely better. Definitely better. I do have some super chats to get to here on Venmo, it looks like, guys. I'll get to those in just a second. Now I'm going to go back to the Old Forester, taste it one more time, and then go to the new Jack. I agree with my former self from like 2 years ago that I think the 2020 Jack Daniel's special releases are, in fact, better than my single barrel here of the Old Forester Rye. It's just not a competition. I'm so surprised by this. I saw so many people talking about the 2023 Jack Daniel's Rye, saying that the 2020s were better, that it was an obvious difference between them. I don't know. I saw all sorts of things, but I think this is. I just don't think it's close with what I have here tonight. Old Forester is tied for third with this lesser barrel of the 2020. They're just very different. Then there's a really nice barrel of the 2020, but I would say that's like a B. If this is an A plus, 100 out of 100, the Jack Daniels, this would be like an 82 out of 100. You know, this barrel of the 2020. So I don't know. I'm very surprised though. So if you see one of these at, let's say, up to, I'm going to go crazy. And some people might not even like that I say this. I think up to $120 if you see one of these Jack Daniel's single barrel Ryes. You should not be paying $120. That's double SRP. But the reality is, these things, when they first hit secondary, when they were first released a couple weeks ago, they were hundreds. I mean, like 400, 500. There was something crazy. The price on these things. That's absurd. But I think based on that initial surge of price, some stores are going to look at this as an opportunity to do a cash grab. So I think you probably will see this product for at least a little while being upcharged quite a bit. $200-$300. Some dumb store's going to put it in a glass case for $500. I know. But I think up to $120. If I look at other $120 bottles, they don't taste like this. They're not this good. I think this even outthrows $120 coverage. I really do. I would put this up like 160. Calumet 16. I would put this up next to it. It's a totally different experience, but quality-wise of what it is, I'm there. Calumet 15, Calumet 16, Sam Houston 15. It's apples to oranges, but I think it's the same quality. That's $150. Hey. You're good. Sorry, I'm going to pause rant. Wife and cat. I was ranting, but that's all I do on here. Hi, Lucy. You want to come here?
No, she doesn't.
Well, here. Let's try. One more time.
Are you sure? Hi, Lucy.
Look at this fat cat. Look at this thing. Hi, Lucy. Say that right into the mic. Say it right now. Right into the mic.
Oh. Okay, I'll take it. Sorry.
All right, I'm probably covered in cat hair now. So Sarah just got home, and if that just happened, that means she's had a little bit to drink tonight. Okay. Toshi says, okay, let's go back. Jeb, Old Forester Rye, something I really wanted to try. Interesting to see it's down. Yeah, I mean, Jeb, it's really good, and it's a crazy bright fruit, like bright cherry, almost cherry cough syrup take on a rye whiskey. I mean, just imagine like Old Forester 19, like a cross between 1910 and 1920, but a rye. What you imagine is exactly what this is. John says, I heard from a liquor store spirits manager that all of Minnesota split one barrel. That would be crazy. Toshi paid $150. Yeah, I would buy one at $150. Like no questions asked at $150. Yeah, Casey, that's too much. Like, that's the thing. $500, that's gonna happen, and it's stupid. So, Chonk sighting. Cam, you're holding the cat wrong. I tried. Yeah, she's thick. How many C's? Six is about right. Brandon says, put me in there. John Cloud, that's not a cat. Yeah, you're right. It's a small bear. Brandon, I got you in, man. Thanks. John says 65 in Ohio. Yeah, again, I might just have like a surprisingly good barrel of this stuff. I cannot believe how good this whiskey is. I can't believe it. God. Austin Erickson. Late to the party, never late. Had a bourbon raffle and scored a Jack 10-year batch 2 and a Rebel 10-year single barrel. SRP. Good dude. Good work. Congrats on that, Austin. I got you in for tonight's giveaway. Let me check on the old Venmo. I'm going to text Sarah instead of yelling into the house. I was going to say across the house, as if there's enough house to yell across. It's just the next room. I'm going to text her, say, she's got to taste this. I'm going to say, come taste this. Well, I could have been more specific. All right. Who do we got here? We got Scott R. Scott Raper in for 10. Oh my God, Scott. Thank you, man. Scott is in for 10. We've got Andrew Surfling in for 4. Yeah, cheers to being well prepared, focused, and sober for the next month. You got it, man. Andrew, let me get you in. Andrew in for 4. And who else? We got 2 more. Scott is in for another one. Lucy, she was just meowing one. Oh, no. Sarah's brushing her teeth, so that means she can't taste it. That's okay. Lucy was meowing a minor second off of the key of the song I'm listening to. It was uncomfortable. All right, and then William Molnar in for 10, dude. What is happening tonight? Cheers, Cam. I feel like I stole that sample pack you sent. Amazing and so generous. Man, I can't remember what I sent you, but I always try to send the best stuff, dude. So tonight's sample pack is a little more spelled out, but the random ones, some people hesitate to super chat if they want to get in the giveaway because they don't know what they're going to get. I always try to give the best stuff I can, so. Yeah, Andrew, this is a family show. John, ayo. Will says, I heard Ohio was doing Jack Daniel's 12 via lot. Okay. Well, guys, what time? How long have we been on? Only an hour and 25. Only. I mean, usually it's like, sometimes we go 3.5 hours, and it's a lot. This is the last live stream, though, for the next one would be, July 13, probably. Yeah, if I'm, unless I do a pop-up live, not on a Thursday night after my audition, but because my audition is on a Friday, I don't know, I could possibly do a July 9th live stream on a Sunday. We'll just see. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, again, I got to turn my attention to this audition, and so probably won't have another live by until July 13. So I'm happy to stay on a little longer tonight, just to make sure, we're all good. Oh, Scott, I missed your message here. Russell's 13 is LL/LC. So you have batch 4. Interesting. Opened up some rye instead for the stream. Okay. So you got the batch 4. Batch 5 is LL/LE. For what that's worth. Joe, keep drinking. Let's make it so your blood alcohol content is still above above 0 by the time you do your audition. Let's do it. Oh, John Cloud won the Ohio lottery. Gonna get his Blanton's Gold next week. Nice, man. Nice. Okay. So with all that wrapped up now, I feel like I'm a guitar player on the street. Any requests? No. Is there anything you guys are curious about? I do still have the samples from last week's Blind Flight. The only sample that I killed from last week to this week was the 14 and a half year exceptional cask rare character. I gave the last half ounce of that to Sarah. So I still have the 11 year and I still have the 9 year. I still have the Redwood Emerald Giant Cast Strength Rye and Cast Strength Lost Monarch. But is there anything you guys are wondering about, you know, that I could do comparisons of or anything like that? Otherwise, I'm happy to choose some things to sip on for the next couple of minutes before we jump off here and do the giveaway. And please also tag me or let me know if I've missed any super chats from this point on. Oh, Daniel P. in for 5. Daniel, I just saw that come through, man. 19 seconds ago. Thank you, dude. In for a little rye flight. I got you in. And I'm going to check the PayPal very quickly and then look at the chat and see if anybody has any requests. Oh, wow. Amy. I got you on PayPal here. Still never had that Jack Daniel's rye. Oh, I'm going to have to get that to you then. Thank you, Amy. I got you in for 4 here. And there's one more person, Jeff Smith on PayPal. Love the show. Good luck on the audition. Thank you, Jeff. Or Jeffrey, if you prefer Jeffrey. All right, guys. I appreciate it so much. All right, Daniel, I got it, man. Thank you so much. Have a good one, dude. So Jeb is asking, Cam, I want to know what's in the white container on the back shelf in front of the Wild Turkey 12. So, Jeb, this is kind of cool, man. There's a... So, Jeb, last summer I was in Austria, right? We played this show last May with the percussion quartet I was with. And I've talked about this before, that these glasses, which let me see if I can get a close-up on this thing with the close cam. So this glass, which is kind of like, if you guys have ever seen those really fancy Macallan sells these like crystal glasses that are way overpriced. There you go. You can kind of see it here. This thing has a really cool stem to it and the kind of this decal on the glass. I got this glass. I got 2 of these unbroken, and then one of them has a chip out of the bottom. So 3 total. I found in this, like, what you would essentially call like an antique store in Austria. And this was in a very small town outside of Salzburg. I think it was Salzburg. Was the main town. Yeah, I think that's right. It was outside of Salzburg in a town called Hallein. Hallein. And this was like where we were staying because it was basically staying out of the town. It was cheaper to stay there. So I found 3 of these glasses. And then there was a little shop there that had these little tasters. If you guys have ever been to like an airport or maybe in Vegas, different shops that have like, they have things in barrels, these little barrels that you can just use the pour spout out of them and taste them in the shop and then buy stuff. You've probably seen the kind of things I'm talking about. They have these teeny little glasses that are pretty cool on these stems. But they also had in that antique store in town, they had this 4 roses, like it looks like for cream or something. This little 4 roses thing, and I think the guy said it was from the 60s. So I just picked this up because I thought it was really cool. And I'm glad it made it home. But, I mean, there's nothing in it. It's just a decoration, essentially. But they had some really cool shit over there. I couldn't believe it. So Jason says, best whiskey of the year so far. So Jason, I feel like the last couple weeks for me have been great in terms of thinking of best whiskeys of 2023. Like having the Peerless High Rye. When I tasted it, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy in terms of, you know, something that's not a Heaven Hill 17 type whiskey where SRP is going to be $300. You're never going to be able to find it. SRP is still too expensive on high rye Peerless, but I had that first, And then I tasted that Rare Character Exceptional Series 14.5-year malt, which is probably still my whiskey of the year at this point. And now this week, tasting this Jack Rye, I'm totally blown away. Elijah Craig Barrel Proof A123 was really good. B523 can kick rocks. I've heard that Larceny B523 is pretty good, but at this point, I feel like everybody's just hyping every batch that comes out of Elijah Craig and Larceny Barrel Proof. Oh, this is the next great batch, because it's almost like this flag you can plant in the ground and be like, I'm so proud of this. You know, they've turned it around. Everybody wants there to be this underdog story with ECBP and Larceny. And sometimes it's okay that the storybook ending does not happen, because it's not happening. Like, Elijah Craig got it together for C922 and A123, and I'm really happy about that. They got it together for C922 Larceny, and that's it. And the rest of them are not that good. Like, I'm sorry. But for every release now, there are the people that come out and say, this is the best thing since C920. It's not. There's like a 80% chance it's not at this point. Stop saying that. Casey and Paul, I have not had the Woodford Batch Proof for this year. 124.7. I love Woodford Batch Proof. Let me actually grab last year's release. It's like, yeah, Paul, it's like a mini pitcher. Tim Tam Slam, I've not had Disco 10. I'm going to buy one for sure, but I have not had it yet. Disco 9, to me, is awesome whiskey. I love Discovery 9. So, yeah. So, anyways, Jason, best whiskey of the year for me so far, Rare Character Exceptional Series, 14.5 year, barrel 54, 65% malt, 35% corn. That's the one. Let me get last year's Woodford. All right, so here's the 118.4. The 118.4 from last year, I've loved these Woodford batch proof releases since the 128.3. I think when they changed to this design, I feel like these batch proof releases just improved. I don't know, it could be confirmation bias. I don't know. But the 118.4, Sarah gave me this tasting note. She said it tastes like an old-fashioned. And that's like the greatest way. Well, I remember tasting this with her, and I was like, that's perfect. It literally tastes like a bourbon version of an old-fashioned. I don't know if that's going to hold true now. I mean, every time you go back to something, it might be a little different. But that's what I remember thinking is like, yes, the orange, the bitters, you know, all of those notes are in there. Wise Guy Stu says the Discovery series is falling apart. I thought 9 was really good. Like, no joke. I think 8 is a cop-out with all the staves. I thought 7 was just too candy sweet, too much light whiskey. Didn't like it. 6 was like them trying to redeem themselves from 5, so less Dickel, more fruitiness in there. But yeah, I mean, look, Discovery Series has not been great since Batch 4. I think we can all agree on that. It's not any different than any of the other whiskey on the market, but the problem is Discovery Series has gone up by $30 SRP since its inception. Maybe even 40, but definitely 30. And it's only gotten worse. And the stuff they're using in the blend is only more readily accessible. In large part, I think. It's certainly cheaper. You know, they're not putting a bunch of aged Barton and MGP in there anymore. So, Brandon, how many bottles do you think you have in your collection? Brandon, I've sold a lot of stuff recently, so I don't know, 400, 450. I think at one point I was probably around 600. But I'd say right now I'd probably be 400 to 450. Man, that Woodford. The thing about Woodford in general, and this batch proof right now in particular, is there's kind of this American single malt profile to it, and I think it has to do with the pot stills that they're using. Yeah, there's just this extra maltiness to it. Yeastiness, maltiness. And one thing about blind flights and kind of training your palate, when you look at Brown-Forman and kind of that portfolio, you have Old Forester, Woodford, and Jack Daniels. And then you have King of Kentucky, which is just considered a Brown-Forman product. I actually think Cooper's Craft is also the same thing. It's considered a Brown-Forman product. I haven't checked the DSP on Cooper's Craft or on King of Kentucky to see where that falls on the label. But in the beginning of like learning to taste and do blind flights and stuff, I just thought, you know what, if I can nail down Brown-Forman, that's good enough. And most of the time that is good enough. Like, anybody should be happy that they can say that it's Brown-Forman instead of Barton, for instance, because both have banana notes. But Brown-Forman products, even between the three, are vastly different. Jack Daniels has this particular Jack Daniels thing. And again, I always want to cite my sources when I learn these things. Matt Porter taught me, and he says it. There's a red wine finish is what he calls it on Jack Daniels. I agree with him. And the way the banana note is on that, a little different. You can also eventually, you start to pick out the charcoal element of the Jack Daniels, the Lincoln County process. Woodford, to me, is a little bit more of this maltiness, this like thicker mouthfeel, a little more of a farmy element to it, a little more earthy and soil. And then when you go to Old Forester, it's brighter, it's more candied, and definitely more yeast going on there. You can smell like that yeasty, unbaked bread kind of thing. So between the three, it's like, my camera won't focus, but the first thing to notice is the banana note, that kind of, almost that Old Forester, that kind of Brown-Forman brightness to all of them, unless you're dealing with a high age release, but typically you're not. And then after that, distinguishing between the thick mouthfeel, maltiness, which comes from the pot stills of Woodford, the Old Forester youth, candiness, or the Jack Daniels charcoal and that red wine thing that goes on with it. All right. Scott says Discovery 8 is 119 is the original SRP of the Discovery series, I think. If it's not 119, it's 129. Discovery 8 at 119, I still would pass on it, but that's a really solid price. And if you like anything that's double oaked, if you like additional oak maturation or secondary barreling, I say buy it. Give it a few weeks of air. It's a great whiskey for the person that likes double oaked. Yeah, Andrew, I agree. Wise Guys 2, I agree. Paul says, the newest Woodford Batch Proof 124.7 is dark, rich, and sweet. Sort of reminds me of some really good Jack Daniels single barrel proof I've had. And Cooper's Craft is Brown-Forman juice, yeah. So I don't know. I just don't know where that was actually distilled. Like, what is the DSP? I would imagine it's Old Forester, but I don't know. Yeah, Jeb, we have to wait for the Bardstown contract supply with Dickel to end. I know. It's never going to, because it's the only way they can pump in 17-year stock into their blends. Although I will say this. I think any amount of Dickel is too much Dickel. But in Discovery 9, it is the most acceptable use of Dickel in a blend I think I've ever tasted. And I regardless of the Dickel, I like Discovery 9. Amen, Jeb. Wise Guys 2, they had a Stag Batch 2 for $550. The only way I would ever pay $550 for a Stag Junior is if I was going to trade it away immediately at a higher value. That's the only way I would ever do that. Like, Stag Junior to me, look, the only reason I buy Stag Junior anymore is to review it on the channel. And typically, if I'm going to buy it, it's like $2.75 a bottle, which is, I mean, that is a dagger through the heart. And then the fact that they put out 22A and 23A after 22B, kind of all at once, 22A, 23A hit the market. I don't have the money to go buy both of those, even if I want to review for the channel and try to make that money back on a giveaway. You know what I mean? Like, that's my thinking with all this. Stag Junior, truthfully, when I taste that whiskey, the most I want to pay for it is $100. I don't think it's very good whiskey. I don't know if I'm going through a phase or whatever. I find it to be young, bitter, astringent 80% of the time. Like Batch 12, I love Batch 12. How often do I reach for Stag Junior? I have not reached for it once in the last 6+ months. I'd rather have an Elijah Craig Barrel Proof from 2017 to 2020 than Stag Junior. You know, I think there's so much bias to Stag Junior because it's a Buffalo Trace product. And if people had it blind with some other things in the mix, I don't think they would pick it. I think it's too bitter and too young. Same with E.H. Taylor Barrel Proofs. A lot of these E.H. Taylor Barrel Proofs that I've been trying now in blind flights, people send it to me. Not the most recent batches. I'm like, this is not good. I feel like this is really young whiskey. It's too hot. Jeb, this is amazing. I've just been telling people that I bought Stag 22C through an online drop and asked if they were able to snag a bottle. The panic from Stag Chasers is hilarious to me. You know, actually, one thing about Stag Junior that I think has devalued the brand as well, same with Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, but Stag especially, because there was a cult following to Stag Junior and anything tatered from Buffalo Trace, but Stag Junior, like when I got into whiskey, when I got into American whiskey right before COVID, Stag Junior was fucking liquid gold. It like, I'm not kidding. It was right on the cusp of when things were about to blow up with COVID in the next 8 months or so. But it wasn't there yet. And when I discovered what Stag Junior was, this is barrel proof Buffalo Trace. Oh my God. You know, Mash Bill 1. Holy crap. It was like liquid gold. I think having a barrel program for Stag Junior, completely the wrong move. I think the same thing for Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, which is why I said that. But especially for Stag Junior. Stag Junior, let that have the cult following. Let that be this pinnacle thing and make it great. But I don't know, man. I haven't had any Stag private selects. I hope they're better than the Elijah Craig store picks at Barrel Proof. But I just don't think that's a good strategy. I think let those batched releases be great and spend more time blending them and do a better fucking job at blending them. No offense. But Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, I'm looking at Heaven Hill on that one. You know, Stag Junior's not that great either, largely. But like 22B or Batch 19 blew me away. I thought it was amazing. I like Batch 16. I thought 14 was fine. I think 12 is incredible. Ugh. Jason says Benchmark Foolproof has seemed to hurt Stag Junior. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a lot younger. It's probably 4 to, well, what would that be? It would probably be 4-year whiskey. So 3 to 5 years younger. It's just like stop losing out on this stock. Nobody out there needed can we be honest? Like, we did not need a Benchmark Foolproof. We did not need that. Just wait a few years and give us more Stag Junior. We don't need Benchmark. We don't need it. Like, what do we have now? In Mash Bill 1, we have three barrel proof options. Okay, you could say that's foolproof, but it's 125. It's basically barrel proof. You have a 4-year option. You have a 7 to 9 year option with Stag Junior, and you have whatever the hell E.H. Taylor barrel proof is. You also no, you have more than 3 options. You have George T. Stagg at 15 years. You do not need all of those products in Mash Bill 1. You just don't need it. I'm sorry. I don't know. Ugh. Toshi, there's no reason to pay that much for Stag Junior. Think about at that price point what you can get. You can get an A117 Elijah Craig barrel proof for $200 and save money, or you can go buy an old school batch of Joseph Magnus cigar blend, batch in the 70s for like, well, $325, whatever it is. And it's just better whiskey. Eric Jenkins. So I'm going to disagree with you, Eric, on this. I actually think Stag 22B is very good. So this gives me something to drink. When I opened this, I really liked it. I guess this could change, but I don't know. What was I drinking? I don't even know what's in my glass right now. Oh, the Woodford. All right. Yeah, on one hand, they want to reach more customers, and at the same time, make almost everything allocated. Yeah. Garrett Willette says, sipping some Bardstown Foursquare. I've not had this one yet. Very curious. Mike, I completely agree with you on Elijah Craig barrel proof. It seems like when they started pumping out these single barrels, the quality of the batches declined. I think that's part of the reason. I think the other part is dwindling stocks, the COVID boom of bourbon, all that kind of stuff too. But the private barrel thing did not help. We can all agree on that. Give me one sec, guys. I gotta go say hey to Sarah real quick. Sarah texted me and said, sorry, we had margaritas tonight. That explains it. Clay says, don't forget Abraham Bowman. Yeah, any of the Bowman stuff, though, Clay, you can't really count it because it was... I guess I don't totally understand the relationship between the Bowman Company and Sazerac, if it's owned by them or if they have some sort of weird contract distilling thing going on. But I also have heard that it's a mix of mash bill 1 and 2. I don't ever know what to believe on the mash bill for the Bowman stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. But I'm not going to count that in official Buffalo Trace releases. But you are right that that's in the mix at least. And then Wise Guys 2 says, Jeffrey Wack was raving about a Knob 9-year pick. Some of them are great. I would say that the sweet spot for Knob Creek, if you're not going to go to the, these don't really exist anymore. The 14 to 15-year picks. I have a 15.5-year pick open behind me, which is insane. I think I put that in last week's giveaway flights. I have found some 11-year Knob Creek picks that have been outstanding. So if you can find that 11 to 12-year range of pick, they're not easy to find. The 9 years are all over the place, 9.5. But 11 to 12-year picks, amazing stuff. So Eric, I pulled this Stag 22B out because you mentioned you didn't like it. Nose was great, but the palate wasn't for me. Okay. I think the nose is pretty good. Still very ethanol forward. Batch 18, the one that came out before this, I think it was 131 proof. I don't still have mine actually. That one, when I liked it, but when I compared it to 22B, I was like, this one's way better. I remember talking about this one having kind of like a baked bread, toasted goods, you know? Those kinds of notes, along with the signature Stag dark grape thing. I like 22B. I do. Joe had Discovery 10 the other night. There are hints of the old Knob Creek 12 to 15-year picks in it. Okay, that's a good sign. And I trust Joe's palate. So this is a good sign. Joe, does that still have the 75 13 12 mash bill in Discovery 10? I haven't actually looked at the breakdown of that one. James would take benchmark top floor over any of the core bottom shelf legacies. Old Forester 86, Four Roses, Elijah Craig. I think you might be smoking something, James. Elijah Craig small batch to me is my go-to core whatever. Elijah Craig is it. Dude. Would you take, 2022 George T. Stagg or Coy Hill? Hang on. I was saving the rest of this George T. Stagg for Sarah, and it's not very much. I'm going to take the teeniest little nip off the top. Of course, the one little bit I take hits me the wrong way. It just burns all the way down, so I got to take another one. I love George T. Stagg. I love the profile. People give me crap because I say that the 2022 was too grassy. Even just off this sample, you can taste the grassiness. I mean, I'm going to go Coy Hill on this, but I would say if it's a 2020 George T. Stagg or Coy Hill, I would go 2020. But if it's 2022, I think I go Coy Hill. People in the chat, please tell me if I'm just incredibly wrong on this. I go Coy Hill. That's just me, though. Amy, some of the best low-proof whiskeys I've ever had have been 11 to 12-year Elijah Craig 94 proof picks. They are so good. Whoopsies. Jeb says 22 George T. Stagg for me. I think it really goes on what you value with those two things, you know. But rarity-wise, it's like George T. Stagg, of course, is crazy rare. But I think I agree with Toshi. I like the 2020 better. I like the 2020. It's just a bigger red fruit, sweeter profile. It doesn't have that weird grassiness and abrasive ethanol of the 2022. I love high-proof George T. Stagg. Toshi, as you know, the 140 point whatever that the 09 is that I'm staring at right now. I want to drink it so freaking bad, dude. The hazmat George T. Staggs don't drink like hazmats. So when the 138.7 2022 version drinks like a hazmat, that's a problem. It just drinks young for what it is. Oh, Yenstube says making us... Okay, well, the biggest question on this is what's the price point? Like, are they vastly different price points? If the Coy Hill is $400 and the George T. Stagg is $1,000, the choice is very easy, Coy Hill on that. I think the cat's trying to get in here. You normally don't like to come in here. What are you doing? All right. The cat's in the whiskey room. Yeah, there's good, I mean, a lot of opinions in the chat on this. Yeah. All right, here we go. Hang on. People were... Austin says, my fiance and I agree with you on the grass note of 20. Yes, thank you, Austin. Because so many people have said I'm crazy for saying that that's a grassy pour. It's so obvious to me that I'm like, I am so willing to accept that I'm wrong on so many whiskeys. And the 2022 George T. Stagg, every time I drink it, like today I took that nip off the sample bottle. 5 minutes ago, I took this nip off the sample bottle. And I'm like, I wasn't thinking I'm going to drink this, it's going to be grassy. I just grabbed it and I drank it. And the first thing I thought was, wow, it's pretty grassy. I'm willing to accept that I'm wrong on so many whiskeys. I think I've got to stand my ground on the 2022. Mr. Drushka says, I tried the 14-year rare character. It's very delicious, but I don't know if it blows me away the same as it did to you. I'll email you if you want one. I would like to get my hands on one. Because I think it would also be interesting to see how different the barrels are. Because the one that we had here was incredible. It's as close as you can get to like a Heaven Hill 17, but being a malt whiskey. So that's a pretty big like gap to traverse, you know, between the two. But it had that really aged vanilla note that older Heaven Hill whiskeys 14 plus years get from me. That's why I really liked it. And the high proof was the other part of it too. The lower proof ones, I think it was the 11 year was not that good. But yeah, shoot me a message on that. Amy, what's the bottle middle shelf over your right shoulder? Far left. Middle shelf over your right. Oh, talking about is that the Hidden Barn? Is it this one, Amy? Because that's the Hidden Barn batch one that people eviscerated me over and told me I was a Jackie Zykan shill. Jeb, you don't get grassy. Dude, I'm telling you, it's on the finish, man. It's on the finish. It's a grassy note only on the finish. Austin says, to be fair, we also had 2022 William LaRue that night. Yeah, which is a much better pour in my opinion. I thought the 2022 William LaRue was incredible. Toshi, there you go. The 09 and 10 don't drink 140 plus. I had 2010 next to 2022, and at 143, the 2010 drank way less hot with way more flavor. Yeah. I mean, whiskey nowadays is hotter. It's all hotter, and it's all less concentrated flavor, which is just, it sucks. Wow, Andrew Surflin got a 9-year pick of Elijah Craig 94 recently. It's fantastic, better than any barrel proof pick, which is unfortunately not a hard thing to accomplish because a lot of the barrel proof picks are just not good. The barrels they're giving people to choose from are not good. It's almost like they rolled out the barrel proof Elijah Craig picks, but then had a discussion amongst themselves and said, we're not going to roll out good barrels that we want to put in our batches. Let's try to roll out medium to bad barrels. And then everybody chooses from those, and the pick program sucks ass as a result. But then the thing is, a 9-year barrel that's not that good, barrels can totally change in 3 years. And so when it gets to 12, it could be a fantastic barrel to go into a blend. But we'll never know because someone picked that 9-year barrel because it was the best of the 3 they got. They got an 8, an 8, and a 9. They picked the 9 based on the stat. They get it. It sucks ass, but it might have been a good contributor to the next, B524 batch. We will never know. That's the problem. What is Heaven Hill up to between diverting the 12-year away from ECBP and what you just spoke about? They have to be looking. Yeah, I think what they're looking to do, which is what it seems to me Buffalo Trace did with Benchmark we just talked about, is expand the line within a mash bill. I don't know. There are a lot of ways you could look at this, I think. So we said that in Mash Bill 1, we've got Benchmark Foolproof, we've got Stag Jr., we've got E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof, we've got George T. Stag. In Heaven Hill, when you're talking about the 78, 12, 10 mash bill, just the ride bourbon mash bill, I think when we see Heaven Hill 17 dropping, we see William Heaven Hill, which is kind of this distillery-only thing. The fact that they've introduced the Heaven Hill Heritage Series, which is the 17-year, now the 20-year Mellow Corn, I think they're just looking to expand series, but at like to what end? What does that actually get them? Is there that much more money involved in them selling off a few thousand bottles of Heaven Hill 17 than throwing those 17-year barrels? I mean, they did go up to 20 in that, but whatever. Throwing those older barrels into an Elijah Craig Barrel Proof batch and just selling a lot more bottles of Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, like, was the return on investment that much better? I mean, it has to be, because it's not like Heaven Hill is trying to establish themselves as a brand and show a broad portfolio. They've done that. They've been around for so long. Heaven Hill's just the top of the top. So what really is the impetus? I don't know. They have all these expansions going on. Buffalo Trace famously expanding their warehousing and their distilling by insane amounts. But, like, do they think because of this expansion, we're also going to expand our lines of things? I mean, yes, eventually you should. You should have more offerings. But I think the things they're choosing to offer, like a Benchmark Foolproof, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Do we all want a $17 barrel proof Buffalo Trace product? Maybe. I know I don't. But maybe somebody who's very buys 1 to 2 bottles of whiskey a month, $50 budget for the month, wants that as an opportunity or as an option? Maybe. But maybe not. Like, I don't know. I don't know. There's got to be a reason for this stuff. James, I mean, this is kind of what I'm saying, though. I think they're trying to start thinning out ECBP, and they're going to start focusing on the higher age barrels from our super premium bottle line. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like they're expanding the portfolio at the cost of their mainstay products, which, let's be honest, who are the people that are picking up on that? The whiskey enthusiasts, which is not the majority of their consumers. But we are picking up on it, and we are hopefully with the bigger channels on YouTube saying this is unacceptable, this is bullshit, this is not. It's all trending downhill. But to expand the higher lines, like Heaven Hill 17, releasing more limited stuff, who does that benefit? Because at the end of the day, if you can't release more than, under 10,000 bottles of something, if you're releasing under 10,000 bottles of something, all you're doing is releasing to the secondary market, and you're not making money on that. Like, what's the point? That's my biggest question. Like, great, we have Heaven Hill 17, and then 2 months later, you release a new thing called, I don't know, the Bardstown Special 16-year. Like, that's great. and you release them 2 months apart, but the same people that got Heaven Hill 17 are going to get your Bardstown Special 16 year, because the relationships people have with stores and the backroom deals and all that stuff in secondary market. That's what I'm saying. Joe says, remember though that C923 is going to be 13 plus years. But I mean, that's great, Joe. But the proof is in the pour, as the bourbon junkies have coined. The proof is in the pour. James, Heaven Hill 17 and Elijah Craig Barrel Proof 17. Imagine that. I don't want to. I would rather imagine Elijah Craig Barrel Proof being released with a lot of 7. All right. Case in point. Russell's Reserve 13. A large portion of what's going into these Russell's Reserve 13s is like 19-year stuff. That is, and why is everybody going batshit crazy over Russell's 13 and saying it's really good? I know some people are like, I got a bad bottle, this and that. Some people don't like the profile. Some people don't like the profile of a lot of things. By and large, Russell's 13 is a ridiculously good bourbon. There's also a lot of 19-year stuff in the blend and 20-year stuff in the blend. I would rather see that approach than and hell, Russell's 13 just raised the SRP to 150. But if it's 150 and we're still getting a bunch of 19-year juice in the blend, I'm cool. The minute that they go, oh, it's just 13 years now, that's harder to stomach, because by the time that happens, the SRP will have probably moved up to 170. You know, like over time, it's going to go up. But I want that approach. I want the approach of quality. Who gives a fuck if it comes... Sorry, pardon my language. Who cares if it comes in a fancy box with a good presentation and a higher SRP? I don't care. I just want good whiskey. God. Sorry, I'm ranting. Sorry. Yeah, Jeb nails it. The consumer does not stop buying, so there's no motivation on the part of the distillers. Everything sells for now. Yeah. 100%. Damn, Jeb. Win in Cologne. I don't have enough George T. Stagg 2022. I have literally one sip left for Sarah to taste this stuff, so I can't mess around with water, unfortunately. Joe says, I actually didn't know this, Joe, that the Knob Creek 12s from this year have a ton of 15-plus year stuff in them. That's great. Actually, you know what? Joe, you may have said that on an earlier stream. That kind of sounds familiar. If you guys are still here, last time I looked at the clock, we were like an hour and 25 minutes deep. It's now 2 hours, 10 minutes. So we're going to do the giveaway here in a couple of minutes, just so the people that have entered the giveaway can get out of here. I need to check Venmo, PayPal. Let's see. Okay, I have missed a few. So I'll get those, and okay, we'll get to those. I don't think I've missed any super chats here on YouTube. Please let me know if I have. I feel like we've been kind of deep in it. No, yeah. I got Austin. Austin and Brandon. I got you guys. Yep, that was the last super chats on YouTube. So real quick reminder before we move on here, or keep moving, or go somewhere. I don't know what we're doing. Tonight's giveaway, 2 sample packs, 10 1-ounce samples of different rye whiskeys. I'll run it all down for you right now because this is the last 5 minutes for you to get in on the giveaway. Number 1, let's start with this. Bardstown Origin Rye, 1 ounce of that. What I think at this point is in contention for Whiskey of the Year, 2023 Jack Single Barrel Proof Rye. I think this is if all the barrels are like this, that's amazing. If I got a honey barrel, I'm glad I got this one. So this is going to be in the giveaway. Old Forester Rye. Hard Truth Sweet Mash Rye Batch 1. What I think is my best batch that I've tried. 2 different Middle West Spirits rye picks. A 53-gallon and a 30-gallon. You can compare them. I promise you, these are amazing rye whiskeys. Anyone that has received a sample pack from me with these in there will vouch for the fact that these are ridiculously good ryes. And it's a nice comparison to compare barrel sizes. Matt Porter's Nulu Rye from last year. A double oaked rye from Starlight, which sounds casual, but it's not. It's really good. E.H. Taylor not barrel proof. That would be awesome. E.H. Taylor Rye. And finally, this rare character ADHD whiskey, Bardstown Bourbon Company 6.5-year rye pick. Those are your 10 samples in the rye giveaway tonight. That's what you're entering for. The giveaway is going to stop at 10:20 p.m. Eastern Time in 5 minutes from now. Then we're going to draw for it, and then we will continue on and wrap this thing up. Clay says, I do know David Jennings has noticed a difference in Russell's 10 circa 2022 as the new still whiskey. Oh, the whiskey from the new still was in it. Okay. I've not purchased a Russell's 10 since like 2020. I have the same bottle I've had for a long time, so can't speak to it. I would be interested to try a cross-section of Russell's 10s over the last, 5 years or so. Andrew, it's good. The standard proof stuff is just good. The cask strength picks are incredible. And then the old stuff in the 30-gallon barrels I thought was like lights out. Just crazy good. But they've moved to these 53s, so they need a few more years to kind of catch up to what the 30-gallon barrels were doing to them at that 4-year mark. But still very good. Oh, Clay says, see my... the new still whiskey is 10 years now, but not in the Russell's 13. Okay, yeah. All the whiskeys from the old still, there'll be a transition to the newer still whiskey in the coming years. Okay. Scott, I've actually never had the 10-year rye green label Basil Hayden. Never had it. Yeah, Paul, give him time. I mean, look, time with we've gone up $10 SRP on Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, and we've also gone now down on age, or we're flexible on age, let's say. Scott has a new label, Russell's 12, and it's Russell's 10, and it's very good. Okay, nice. Okay. Let's catch up real quick on... Wow, guys. Thank you. Seriously, thank you. So I've got Andrew. Andrew's in for 5. Let me get you in here. In for one entry, $5 super chat. No rush, not going anywhere. Focus, give me a shot. Yes. Andrews, I'm sorry, man. My head is under a rock right now. Brian Taylor. Andrew, I don't have a ton of stuff left, which is part of my, lackadaisical nature of getting back to you on this. It's like I don't have a lot of open stuff left that I'm getting rid of that's at that level that you're probably looking for, but we should talk, yeah. Brian Taylor, I got you in for 1, says, love the content. Big fan of the Emerald Giant, working more into Ryes as of late. So this live is great. Brian with a Y. Okay. Brian Taylor. Brian with a Y. Gotcha. Moving on. Toshi's in for another 5 entries. He says, second round. Thanks, Toshi, man. I got you in. Who else? Casey Dorn says rye giveaway. Casey, I got you in for 2. Thank you so much. And finally, James Mormon Jr. in for a Rye giveaway 2. James, what's up, man? Good to see your name popping up. I gotcha. Yeah, Jeb says, new label Russell's 10. Man, if they'd only make it 100 proof, that would be just night and day difference, I think. I really do. Emerald Giant, yes, Andrew, Emerald Giant cask strength is so good. All right, we're going to shut the giveaway down here in 10 seconds. So any final entries, get them in. Otherwise, we're going to wrap it up, do the drawing real quick, and then wrap the stream up. All right, PayPal is good to go. I think everybody from last week's giveaways, everybody should have their stuff by now. It shipped out, I want to say I shipped them out on Monday, so everything should be where they need to go, you know. Art Sanchez, that's a new name. Thank you, Art. Art is in for 4 on the giveaway. I appreciate it so much, man. All right, let's do this giveaway. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share my screen with you. You can check in to make sure I didn't make any errors or make any mistakes. I'm going to turn the banner off. There we go. And now share my screen. We have 82 still in here. Thank you all for being here. Please hit that like button if you don't mind. If you are hanging out, it's the best way to support the channel, and it's free. Here we go. So this is the sheet here. So this is Amy's wonderful Excel creation or numbers creation. So on the left is your name, and if you entered at one point, Tim Tam Slam entered $25 super chat divided by 5 is 5 entries, which populated over here to 5 entries. So if you see any mistakes from your name to your number of super chats at any given time, not in total, but at any given time that you entered, please let me know. I will double check. We'll get it corrected. You have like a couple minutes to make this happen. And then we're going to do the giveaway. But super chats are cut off at this point, unless something kind of sneaks through here at the last minute. We have a lot of entries tonight, like way more than I would have ever imagined. So thank you all so much for this Rye giveaway, this Rye flight. Very much appreciated. Scott, that's the thing, Scott. Check for your name twice, man, because you are in here. You're at the top. 1 for your super chat, and then 1 for your Venmo down here. So that's what I'm saying. It's like every time you entered is going to be a different name entry. Yeah. There you go. So, guys, let me know if I made any mistakes. Divide your money amount by 5. That's your number of entries. So, Jeb says, just found the new label. Is the internet fooling me? They simply made the bottle label red. Yeah, they changed all the Russell's labels recently. All right. Another like 30 seconds. Otherwise, we're going to do this giveaway. I think I've got everybody in here. All right. I'm going to go ahead and copy this. Copy this now into the randomizer. 7 spins as usual, guys. If I made any mistakes, please send me an email. I will make that right. Either enter you into next week or we'll find a solution. If I do make a mistake, I always have to make that right because, you know, got to do it. All right, here we go. Oh, I shared my screen incorrectly. Let me do it this way. I only shared that window. I need to share the entire screen. There we go. Okay, so here we have it. I have it copied, paste everybody's names in there. Generated 7 spins. Top 2, no duplicates. Top 2 win the sample packs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's the final spin. 7. Boom. We got James and Toshi. All right, James. You're saving me shipping costs. I'm just kidding. That's cool, James. You jumped in at the last minute and got it. And Toshi, one of the biggest supporters of the channel. William Molnar, you almost came away with another giveaway win, dude. 2 in a row there. Number 3 and 4. You almost came away with another giveaway win after... Wow, it's storming outside. I didn't know that. After the Larceny C922 in 2 different sample packs. Nice, guys. Congrats, James and Toshi. Let me write this down on my phone. All right. Nice, guys. Jeb says, I'm more of an emotional supporter. You can't put a price on that. That's what my wife says. Brandon says, cheers, Cam. Good. Love your stuff, brother. Good luck on your audition. Can't wait to celebrate after you crush it. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Brandon. Yeah, congrats to all of you guys, Toshi and James. Yeah, so again, unless something happens and I jump on, I don't see that happening between now and July 7. This will be the last live stream until probably July 13th. And I'll see you guys then. And patrons, I'll check in with you guys, of course, in the next couple of days. Make next month free just because of all this going on. And maybe post a couple updates between now and the audition. But, yeah, that's it. So, much appreciated. Thank you all for being here. Again, final thoughts. Jack Daniel's barrel proof single barrel rye. Buy. Up to 120, 150. I mean, this is just ridiculous whiskey. It could just be this barrel, so proceed with caution. Bardstown Origin Rye. Good, not great. A good sipper, $60. Don't let it be the one whiskey you buy this month. But if you buy a couple bottles every month, you want to try this lower proof sipping rye, go ahead and go for it. All right. Dennis came in late. Trade it. Trade the E.H. Taylor rye. Dennis. Trade value these days is around $250. If you operate on secondary values, it's like $225 to $250, which is way higher than it used to be. It used to be like $160, $180. Trade that shit. It's just not worth it, man. All right. I will see you all, in a few weeks. So thank you so much. And thanks everybody for your support with the audition, obviously with the super chats and giveaways and stuff. I'll get those things out to Toshi and James. And that's it. So see you later. Last pour is going to be this incredible Jack Daniel's rye. Cheers.